Alright lads, so today we're going to be showcasing the newly resurrected BANKAI Kisuke, who actually received another pretty good resurrection. Really excited to try him out because I haven't played with him yet since he has resurrected, and I'm curious to see what these newfound upgrades actually bring to the character, and how better is he now that he has received those new particular skills. So Kisuke, in case you were wondering, is a technique sniper with the hollow kill ability. Now his resurrection is actually very exciting, especially for future characters because of the skills that he did pick up. For starters, just like Luigi, prior to resurrecting, he only had 6 skills. So that meant upon resurrecting, he will be picking up 2 new skills, but what skills did he actually get? For starters, he picked up 20% Havoc. So 20% more range on any given character is always great, especially in his case because prior to resurrecting, his strong attacks still aren't really the greatest, so that extra 20% range really does help him out here. But in addition to that, he is the first character in the game to get increased damage to enemies not afflicted by an ailment plus 50%. It's not the 100% that new characters get nowadays, but this is perfectly serviceable and is pretty much the biggest damage increase we've seen on any character from pre-resurrection to post-resurrection. This is really exciting and definitely gives me hope for future characters, especially those that can't affect any stat ailments. This is a really big damage increase. The range he got is also quite noticeable, so for resurrection, this is by far one of the better ones. Of course, it doesn't make him anything super OP, but it definitely makes him a lot more usable prior to his resurrection. As for the soul trait though, he is a 12% recharge and also lasted survival rate plus 80%. I kind of like this. Of course, strong attack damage or full stamina would have been more ideal here, but we do have quite a few of those links already, and at least to me, it wouldn't really make much of a difference. But in this case, this link is actually quite good. You can pair it with the second one, Ichigo, and also Christmas Retsu to get 36% recharge and also 260% last ditch. I kind of like that. I like doing builds like that. I don't mind it. So I do really like this soul trait combination, especially because, again, we don't have much of these links. This is now the third in the technique attribute. This, I believe, would be a lot more beneficial than having another strong attack damage and recharge link, in my opinion. But that's his upgrades, more damage, more range, and also more survivability, so let's take him some content and see how he does perform. Alright, so jumping into the Human Killer IT, firstly what I gotta say though, and we mentioned it a couple of days ago when we showcased this character prior to resurrecting, is that his Natring has gotta be one of the best looking Natrings in the entire game. It perfectly represents his Bankai, and it looks absolutely stunning. Even the strong attacks that we are about to use are also pretty nice looking. Mainly the SA1 and 3, SA2 not really so much, but firstly, SA1, right? It is pretty much the worst strong attack one in the game, but the added damage and also range he has is definitely noticeable here because that probably wouldn't have killed if he wasn't resurrected. His SA2 is going to be an area around him. The SA2 itself used to be a problem. I think it's definitely a bit helpful now that we have more range and damage to it, because prior to resurrecting, it would do damage, and sometimes it would knock back the enemy, sometimes it would miss the enemies after that second initial hit, because you will notice the SA2 does have 2 hits to it. So you can see here, hit number 1, hit number 2. So it didn't really hit that particular mob there at the end. It didn't kill him. But I guess the fact that it did hit him is actually quite helpful here. Because again, prior to resurrecting, it would have completely missed. So despite just using him in the Human Killer IT, we are able to still do some respectable damage here, considering the fact that we don't have Killer and the character is only special move level 1 out of 5. If we use our Soul Bomb here, completely wipes up that particular room. Love to see it. And then we're going into the final boss, grab that Soul Bomb, and then use the Soul Bomb. The Soul Bomb itself is quite cool, but it definitely does feel a bit static. The animation definitely isn't up to par, even for his release, to be fair. The finishing pose of Kisuke just standing there looks a bit boring in my opinion, so I'm kind of excited to see what they have planned when they next remake this character again, potentially in a couple years time, when it's finally shown in the anime. So retrying the quest again, let's see this time if we actually can get a faster clear time. Our first initial run, we got a 2-minute clear time, but we weren't really trying to go for the fastest one. SA1, again, ideally we do want to use close up, and that's how you're going to be able to do the most damage, because what you will see here is that the SA2 splits off into 3 different directions. So if you use it up close and personal like that, it is actually able and capable of doing some good damage. But against a wave like that though, it's mostly going to damage the enemies a tad bit, not really kill. But let's actually use our Soul Bomb here. Lovely. Didn't actually kill the wave, but that's fine. We don't have attention tie. And now we're going to go into this room with all our strong attacks ready. Push that enemy back into the SA3. Lovely, beautiful SA3. Again, SA1 is definitely the weakest part about this kit. It does mean that at times you're going to have to use an extra strong attack or 2, but it's fine. If you're enjoying the gameplay play, it's not really that big of a deal, right? It's only going to cost you a couple seconds. Let's use our SA1 and then Soul Bomb. Skip the Soul Bomb, though. We've already seen it. And there we go. Sugashima goes down. What clear time are we looking at? And we got a 57-second clear time. So again, a lot slower when compared to the other character that we showcased previously. But granted, they did have the Transcendence investment. And at least in Yoruichi's case, she's a significantly faster character. She has the transfer mechanic too, so she does have that advantage. But still, regardless, a 1 minute clear time is still somewhat impressive, especially considering the fact that, you know, pre-resurrection, you just wouldn't be able to do this. We are using it in a situation like Inheritance Trials where you're kind of forced to do either brute force damage or inflict status elements. In his case, he can't inflict status elements, so we are relying strictly on his DPS. And that 50% more damage to enemies not affected by an element really is helping us here. So again, similar strategy, SA1 there after using the Soul Bomb. We're going to go into this room. Hopefully I can try and use my strong attacks correctly here. SA2 on that, that's beautiful. SA3 there. We were able to hit them thanks to the fact that we did have Havoc. Unfortunately, though, I did get paralyzed. That is something that he has to go through here. We are going to go through it, though, because that was the final wave of that particular stage. And then we could just use our Soul Bomb. Let's do a bit of damage on our strong attacks just in case we didn't kill there. And for our third run, we actually got a 58-second clear time. Potentially could have got a sub 50. Either way, I'm still relatively impressed, especially with playing him prior to resurrecting. It's definitely a big increase. Probably the biggest increase we've seen thus far. Maybe to the likes of BANKAI, for example. Next up, though, let's take the character into Inheritance Zone just to demonstrate how fast you can clear content that at the time of his release was considered somewhat hard, right? In this case, going to be able to go through it relatively quick, especially because of the fact that we did give this character long stride. Going to Soul Bomb him, and that's going to allow us to get into this particular room with our strong attacks ready. SA2 is going to be beautiful there. SA3, absolutely amazing when it can one-shot characters like that. And then now, again, we can do some respectable damage on our normal attacks. Let's just use our SA3. And boom, we're already into the final stage. In this case, I'm pretty sure we can use one strong attack. Yes, we can. And we had Killer 2. We had Killer 2. And 55-second clear time. That's actually kind of in line with a lot of other characters we have been showcasing. And I feel like this character is perfectly usable in anything that isn't Inheritance Trials. If we ever get harder content in the future, which has been confirmed to be happening later this year, as long as it doesn't require you to inflict status to do more damage, Kisuke is a perfectly viable character to be using content. But to finish up the video, let's take Kisuke into the Zappo epic grade and see how fast it takes him, or how long it takes him to do 15 million damage. This is a way for us to test the character's DPS. And to help us out, we have given the character weakened defense. So on the second stage, we are actually going to do that. And at the same time, we also have to be wary where we are standing here, mainly due to the SA1. The SA1 ideally wants you to be a tad bit close to it so you can get the most amount of hits off. SA3 is going to go off, and we're going to wait a couple seconds, mainly for our SA3 to come back before we do decide to actually use that Soul Bomb. And then we use the Soul Bomb. That's going to apply the weakened defense, and now we're going to be able to do a lot of damage here. Look at that, beautiful. All right, so far so good. Just a couple more strong attacks to get through this phase. There we go, lovely. Now to the final one, where we have to make sure we save our SA3 for the bomb attacks, because we're going to need to destroy them. But we do have the Zappo pattern, so we shouldn't really struggle with that. Our strong attack 3 is not going to be back in time, but it's fine. It's not the awakened version, so we can probably just use our Nightstring. Yes, we can. At this point in time, just a few more strong attacks. Both SA2 and 3 are going to come back at the same time, so it should be golden. Let's use our SA3 there. Look at that. Beautiful. So in this case, it took us around 1 minute and 48 seconds to do 15 million damage. Just for comparison's sake, when we used Yoruichi yesterday, we did 15 million damage in 1 minute and 40 seconds, but she did have the transfer mechanic, and she also did have focus level 10 and attack level 10, so she naturally had the attack advantage here. In Kisuke's case, only 1 out of 5 SP level 10, he was actually almost able to rival a 3 out of 5 Yoruichi, and that mainly comes down to the fact that he does do 50% more damage to enemies not affected by an element. So all in all, I'm actually really impressed by this resurrection. Prior to him resurrecting, I really didn't have the biggest hope for him. Again, his SA1 and 2 really aren't the best here. I did have hope they would give him Havoc, but I felt like his second skill would have been something stupid like follow-up. But in this case, they surprised me and gave him a better skill than I could ever hope for, 50% more damage to enemies not affected by an element. This really does make him significantly better in terms of the DPS factor. He does have more range now, which helps with his wonky SA1 and somewhat decent SA2. And he has extra bit of survivability from the sword trait, which is actually quite useful. We don't have many links like that when compared to strong attack damage and recharge. So I'm actually perfectly happy with the way this character turned out with his resurrection. It gives me hope for future characters that they can also pick up this particular skill. The 50% more damage to enemies not affected by an element. It's really going to save characters like it did with this particular Kisuke. He is basically usable right now, which is what you want to see when it comes to resurrections. He's not super amazing, but he's usable and he's now fun. I enjoyed myself using him, didn't really struggle for the most part, and again, had a lot of fun, and mainly due to his visuals. The extra damage range really does help him out, so I'm happy with this particular resurrection. But that's my opinion. In the comments below, let me know what you guys think about this character's resurrection, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care and peace.